Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets. So these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
Make it less teal and more
Cerulean? Sure.
Replace your background with something more fun? The cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
It needs more style. It needs more clips, more gifs, more. Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Too gnarly.
Too gnarly.
Too gnarly as usual. Welcome everyone to Descript 101. I'm Christiana. I'm on the community team here, and I'm joined by the amazing Harmony, who will be our guide today. Harmony leads lots of sales and customer success stuff and knows Descript inside and out. So we're in good hands. Harmony, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Christiana?
I'm doing pretty good, though this is a good time to warn our audience that both Harmony and I are recovering from the general cold flu that is like happening in the world. So if you see either of us suddenly cough or duck out of the way so you guys don't have to see it, just know that's what's going on.
We're starting off the new year right. We're getting this out of the way so that the rest of the year we can just live our best lives.
That's exactly right. That's the strategy. So other than our goal for the rest of 2024 is to stay healthy, we want to know what everybody's 2024 content creation goals are. So I see lots of folks in the chat telling us where you're tuning in from. Hello, someone's from Germany, Canada, Kansas, everyone all over. Thanks for being here. But also type in the chat and let us know what your content goals are for this year. And if you're new to Descript and this is your first time learning about it, welcome. We're so glad you're here. The wonderful Marcelo is in the chat hanging out with us. Marcelo runs our support team here at Descript, so you're in good hands. And he just has great vibes. So say hi to Marcelo as well. But how about I do our little housekeeping, show the agenda, and then we can jump in. How does that sound, Harmony?
Let's go. I'm ready for it.
Let's do it. Cool. And I'm already seeing some cool goals come in for 2024. So keep it coming, folks. Yes. Cool. Okay, so this is our Descript 101 agenda. We are going to show you how to import and transcribe your media in Descript, whether that's video or audio. We'll show you how to record with Descript. We're going to talk about scenes, which are really the nuts and bolts of video editing with Descript. Give you a tour of our stock media library, which is basically jam-packed with anything you would want to put in your project, videos, pictures, GIFs, etc. Harmony's going to show us the different modes of using Descript, edit, writing, and correcting. And then we'll dive in onto the editing stuff. So whether you're in the script, the timeline, or the canvas, we'll show you how to really clean up your stuff with Descript. And then templates. We have a full template gallery at your disposal, and you can make your own. So we'll show you how to do that. And then, of course, perhaps the unsung hero of Descript. How do you get your stuff out of there and share it with the world? Publishing and exporting. We are streaming on YouTube right now, so use the chat for your chatting and asking questions about the stuff that we're covering today. Marcelo is going to do his best to answer all of those questions. But for anything specific, like say you're running into a specific issue or you think you're hitting a bug, either join Marcelo's office hours, which are going to happen in Discord right after this, or submit a ticket to our support team. And I'll tell you how to do that in just a sec. If we freeze at all, just refresh your browser. That should do the trick. And then also this session is recorded and all of our events are, and you can find the replays on our YouTube channel anytime at the link that you're watching right now. But I'm also going to send it out in the follow-up email so you have it handy. That'll go out like 30 minutes after this event. If you need more help, check out the help center. Help.descript.com is your best friend. And that's also where you can submit a ticket to our support team. Up right corner, I think it just says submit a request or submit a ticket. Yeah. So jump over there and then join our Discord community for support. We have an amazing community of, I think it's 17,000 plus users in there now. And we have an Ask a Community channel where you can post all kinds of Descript questions, and either the Descript team or fellow community members will hook you up with some answers. And then last but not least, if you're a new or free Descript user, you get a month of free Descript Pro on us today. Use code LIVE30 at checkout or scan that code, and that will get you a month of free Pro if you are currently on a free plan or you're new here. Yeah, we'll be showing off some Pro features, and we want to make sure that you have access to all of the things you need to get started. But don't feel like you have to scramble to write this down or scan the QR code. One, we'll bring it up more later. And also it will be in the follow-up email, as well as a lot of the other things I've mentioned. So you relax, sit back. We'll listen to Harmony together, and all of this good stuff that I'm mentioning will be in your inbox 30 minutes after we wrap up. Cool. Okay, that is my housekeeping. I think we hit it all here. Harmony, am I missing anything? Do you have any 2024 content goals you want to share?
No, I think you hit everything right. In terms of 2024, so some of 2023 is bleeding into 2024. I hope that's okay.
Please. Of
The
course.
amount of emails I send every day just continues to be more and more. So one of the goals I had last year was to use the Descript screen recorder more to send like
Cool.
quick messages, both internally to my awesome colleagues here at Descript, but also to our customers. So if someone's having trouble, I can just like pull out the screen recorder and be like, hey, you need to go here, here, and here. Export is there. And then it just makes it so much easier than having to type out an email. And I just send them a link, and then they can even ask questions from the share page that I send. So I think, yeah, just being able to use Descript more for async comms is up there. How about you?
I love it. That's super cool. Yeah, I make some videos for our social media with Descript. And I just want to do more of that and get better at it and like really master some of the functionality. I feel like I'm not a beginner anymore. I'm like mid-level. And I just want to keep getting better. So
Heard.
I'm happy to be here and learning alongside with everybody. Cool. Okay. Well, I think we can jump in if that sounds good to you.
Let's do it. I'm going to share my screen with everyone, and then, yeah, excited to see questions as they come in. And for folks that are brand new to Descript, in a nutshell, it's a collaborative audio and video editor that works a lot like a Word document. So that's the core of what Descript is. While it is an editor, there's a lot of really cool AI features infused to help streamline your workflow and make you more efficient in your day-to-day. And so just so that you can kind of have a basic understanding of like the hierarchy of Descript, I usually like to start here. So if you've just created a Descript account, you'll land here. This is what we call the drive view. So it's kind of your bird's eye of everything that's going on. So a lot kind of like a Google Drive view or Dropbox view in the sense that over here on the right, this is where all of your content lives. You can create folders. You can view all of your projects either in list view or grid view, whatever your preference is. And then over here on the left, you got some quick filters. So recent projects that you had open, quick recordings. So this is a really amazing feature of Descript. So you can either ingest pre-existing audio or video, or you can record directly in. So as I was mentioning, I'll use the quick recorder to just record directly into the app and then export it out. We also have some tutorials that are infused into the app. So if you're curious, like after today's session, hey, what was Harmony saying about creating clips or creating a video podcast? You can access all of those here. And then before we jump into some app settings, I usually like to just talk about our concept of what we call workspaces. So Workspaces is essentially broken into 2 sections. So you've got a private workspace, just private to you and you only. And so with this drive that I'm on, I actually Christiana and I are both on this account. So if I have something that I don't want Christiana to see quite yet, I can keep it in here. It's private. And then once I'm ready for Christiana to see it, I can move it into the Drive workspace, which is where we can collaborate as a team. It's super easy to move stuff around. If it ends up in the wrong location, just hover over the project, click on Move To, and then drop it in the right place you need it to be in. Christiana, anything else you'd mention about the Drive view? Anything else people should know here?
I feel like this week in our changelog, we announced a pretty cool update to how you can control your drive and things like that, and like admin access. Is that right? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's a great point. So this is a good moment to jump into our settings here. So to access your settings, you're going to click on your avatar or your initials here in the top right-hand corner. Go into your settings. So you can access a number of app settings from here. By default, it will drop you on the general tab. But one thing that's super exciting, if we go into our members tab, for teams that are on our enterprise plan, you can name a second admin. So up until yesterday, you could only have one admin per drive. So that means only one person could come in here and provision new users and change their membership, their permissions rather. And now I can go in here and say, hey, I'm going to be out on leave for a couple of weeks. I need to also add Christiana as an admin. So you can go in and name multiple admins, which is really exciting. Did I hit that right, Christiana? Was there anything else you were thinking of?
Nope, you nailed it. That was my thought.
Super. Yeah. So there you can definitely, if you're just setting up your account, head over to your settings and make sure everything's configured the way that you want it. Couple things from the general tab. This is where you can set your default project type, and we're going to get into this shortly. But as I mentioned, Descript is an audio and video editor. So if you're most of the time recording or ingesting only video, you can select that as your default project type, or vice versa. If you're primarily only working with audio, you can set that here. We also transcribe in multiple languages. I think we're up to 23 languages now. So you can set that default transcription language. You can say always ask before I start transcribing. So if you're transcribing in different languages, each project you create, you can toggle that on. You can set your theme, light to dark, or system preferences here. I'm going to leave it on light for today. And then some more advanced settings with respect, particularly with respect to sort of automatic volume leveling, adding room tone on gap clips. So by default, all of these will be toggled on, but if you want, you can come in here and toggle those off. I think that's it for settings. The other thing too, under notifications. So when and if someone comments on a project or there's updates to projects, you can come in here and toggle on notifications for that. Okay, I think we've got all of our settings covered. Anything else, Christiana, before we create a project?
No, I think you hit it all. I think we can jump into a project.
Cool. So, I have something that I've already created for today, but just kind of a best practice here in terms of setting up your workspace. It's a good idea to create folders and subfolders just so that you can keep all of your content sort of neat and tidy. Once you're ready to start recording or bring content into Descript, you're just going to click on this new button here. You're going to see 4 options. First is a video project. So hopefully that's pretty straightforward, or audio project. And then if you want to just start recording right away, you can start a quick recorder. And then the last thing I'll mention is the remote recording piece. So we had some really exciting news at the end of last year. We acquired a company called Squadcast, which is a state-of-the-art remote recording tool. The really nice thing is that sort of phase 1 of this is that we have this super great integration where you record in Squadcast and then you can immediately bring those recordings over into Descript and start editing. So if you click on this will automatically open up a Squadcast session and then you can bring it right back into Descript. We could do like a whole session on Squadcast, but Christiana, Is there anything else I should mention about Squadcast before we dive in?
No, you're right. We could. It's a whole remote recording is a whole thing, and we do have replays of Squadcast 101 sessions on YouTube. So check that out if you're looking for that. But I thought that we could just jump over to the subscription area of settings,
Sure.
and show people where they could connect if they need to do that. And someone also asked, how can we upgrade to Pro? So maybe we could just
Oh,
show
nice.
that
Yeah.
area.
Totally. So in order to connect your Descript account to Squadcast, what you'll do is you'll go into your settings, go to the subscription tab, and then you're just going to click on connect to Squadcast. And from there, go ahead and just follow the prompts. It's going to open up, if you use Chrome, it'll open up a Chrome window and just follow the prompts to create an account. And then from there, the nomenclature in Squadcast is really similar to Descript in the sense that you'll have your organization, and then you can set up different shows. So if you have different groups of people working on different types of content, you can easily set that up. And then as far as upgrading to Pro, I'm going to jump to, let me jump to a free drive here. So if you're on a free plan, you're just going to go to that subscription tab, and then we're going to see the subscription here. So if I edit it, I'm just going to go ahead and, in this case, if you want Pro, you can select that. And then by default, it will just default to 1 seat. So this is a good opportunity to talk about maybe our membership types really quick. So we have 2 seat types. One is an editor, which are your paid seats. These are users that can do everything I'm going to show you today. So upload, record, transcribe, edit, export, whole Descript buffet access. Then we also have what we call basic members. These are free members, and they can essentially view, listen, and comment on projects, but they can't edit them. So really great for collaborators, stakeholders that need to review, give some feedback, but not necessarily edit. So this is how you're going to go in and upgrade to a different plan. Good
Awesome.
questions. Yeah.
Cool. And I just wanted to highlight Cone of Shame on YouTube said, which I love that name, by the way, came to Descript from Squadcast. So that's awesome.
Ah.
If you're from Squadcast, folks, let us know in the chat. That's so awesome. Welcome to Descript.
Welcome.
Cool. Thanks for diving in on that, Harmony.
Yeah, you got it. No, these are great sort of setup questions, kind of trying to understand where, how to navigate your settings and get yourself set up for success before we start diving in.
Super cool.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
let's dive in. I'm gonna create a blank project here, and let's resize this a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. Okay. So when you create a brand new project, I'm creating a video project to get started. It basically looks like a blank canvas or a blank document. You'll notice that there's a couple prompts to get started here. So I can add a file, which is what we're going to do today. So I have some stuff that's been pre-recorded. I can also start writing or start recording. So if I click on start recording, you'll see I'll have some options to record audio, video, or a screen recording. Love the screen recorder. This is what I use almost every day. And then the last option is I'm really loving to see how people are bringing Descript more and more into their pre-production process. So you can actually use our writing tool as well. And you can ask AI to write for you if you've got kind of writer's block. So give it, it'll give you some prompts on how to get started. But for the sake of right now, let's pull in some pre-existing video. So this is going to be, I'm going to title this, this is Ramdy, Ryan, and Ashley. And I've got, now the way that this was recorded is it was actually recorded in Squadcast. And so one of the really amazing benefits of Squadcast is for every person that's being recorded, they're recorded on their own separate tracks. And this is really ideal, especially later down the road when we go in and start editing. Don't worry if you have a recording where people aren't on their own individual channels. It just makes it a lot easier, especially if there's crosstalk. It'll make it easier to remove that background noise and crosstalk. So I'm going to select, in this case, my 3 files, and I'm going to drag them right on in. that's going to kick off the transcription process. And this is really like layer one of the cake in terms of how you get started in Descript, is that it's going to transcribe. And from there, we're going to start editing. So let's transcribe. And then the second prompt that we get is where we add what we call speaker labels. So this is a way for us to delineate in our transcript, once we get it back, who's speaking when. So in this case, I've got Ashley, second I've got Randy, and then I've got Ryan. And so since I'm bringing in 3 separate files, by default, I'm going to create what we call a sequence. And a sequence is essentially a container for my 3 files, and it's going to pair them all into a single transcript. Let's say done. And the cool thing is that this is actually going pretty fast. This is a relatively short interview. So I'd say for about every hour of audio or video that you bring in, it'll transcribe in about 3 to 4 minutes. So it's pretty fast. We can see right now it's at about 78%. While that's finishing up, one thing I really like to recommend to folks as you get started to get set up for success is under the tools section, under transcription glossary. This is a way for you to train the AI and make it smarter. So, for example, never used to get my last name right. I put Christiana's last name in here too. So if there's common terms or acronyms that you use, whether it's in your interviews or your shows, you can add those here and it will improve the overall accuracy of your transcript that you'll get back. And the reason that's really important is as we go through the process, I'm going to be adding captions later on, and it'll just make that process much easier and streamlined. So I'm not having to go in and edit individual words.
Harmony, do you have any other tips for getting accurate transcripts in terms of like how you're recording maybe, or is there any other pro tips?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like it all starts with really good audio. So in terms of your recording environment, try to be in a relatively quiet space. Think about your setup, your gear. So if you're recording directly into your computer, that's okay. But it's often worth it to invest in a decent microphone. I'm using a Shure MV7. I think you've got the same one, Christiana.
I do.
Um, I, I graduated to this microphone from the Blue Yeti, which is also a great mic.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of really great features built into Descript that can help you improve the overall sound, like our studio sound feature and our compressor and EQ. So what about you, Christiana? Any other sort of tips and tricks you'd give?
Let's see. For getting a clear transcription, yeah, I think just definitely investing in the right gear. Once you're there, I feel like there's something that I used to hear was like your best gear is what you already have. So, like, don't let gear stop you at all. But yeah, I think that helps a lot. And then the transcription glossary is huge, which you just highlighted. It helps a lot. And then once you're actually, I think we'll get into this, but like bulk correcting some things that it's going to get wrong, just to make your life a little bit easier, I think is huge.
Totally. Well, the good thing now is that while we were chatting, we've now got a nice transcript that we're ready to start editing here. This is great. Now, one kind of tip I'd like to give, especially since I have three different files, 3 camera shots, is there's an action up here in the top left-hand corner, and it allows you to do what we call add scenes by active speaker. So what that will mean is whenever, in this case, Ramdy's talking, it'll go full screen. Whenever it's Ashley's talking, that'll go full screen. And so check this out. Let's see what this will do. Cool. So now when Ramdy's talking, we can see it's gone full screen. And we're also introducing this concept of what we call a scene. So I'll back out and just kind of explain what a scene is. I like to think of scenes as discrete segments in a video where you want something visually to change. So if I, for an example, Ramdy's talking about Snickers here, I'll pull in some B-roll a little bit later. If I want to see, a nice image of a Snickers bar, I can pull that in and it'll only populate for a discrete amount of time. Christiane, I know we like explain scenes in kind of different ways. Any other sort of analogy you might use with respect to scenes?
No, that was a great one. Yeah, I always like to kind of think about it as like almost like stacks of different like papers that you would just kind of move through, or almost like I've been reading a graphic novel right now, like a cartoon style, and like each like it's amazing how cartoonists like in each little strip tell a whole story and keep the plot going, and that's kind
Mm.
of how I like to think about scenes.
I love that. Yeah, and to your point, or sort of around things stacking, you'll notice once you create a scene over on the left, this is what we call our scene rail. This is where you'll see all of the different scenes that have been created. So, if, for example, let's go to scene 2. This is where Ramdy is talking about Snickers. So this is let me do. Actually, let's just do for this whole paragraph. I'm going to pull in some imagery of a Snickers bar. So it's a good way to highlight our stock media library. I'm going to come up to this tab up here. So I'm going to go into video. Why not do some B-roll instead of just an image? Okay, lots of good options here. Okay, how about that one? And so check this out. The cool thing is that now we're only going to see that B-roll just for that discrete scene here. So it'll go for here.
What about you guys?
Probably Snickers. Like I
And so if I want, this is where kind of the power of the timeline comes in. And I know I'm introducing a couple different surfaces here, so I'll back out momentarily. So if I want the B-roll to start a little bit later, I can nudge it here.
What about you guys?
probably Snickers. Like I think Snickers is my all-time.
Right. So if I want to see Ramdy first before he starts talking about Snickers, I'm able to time that a little bit differently. So
awesome.
Yeah, I love playing around with our B-roll that we have directly in Descript. It's such a gift having that stock media library like just embedded directly. But the good news is that if you have your own B-roll and imagery, you can also source it and like bring it directly into the app. But let me back out for a second because I know I just introduced a couple different things here. So again, so if you're starting right from the beginning, as soon as you bring in your material, you're going to be working from your transcript, and this is where you're going to be making most of your edits. Over here on the right, this is what we call the canvas. This is where you're going to see all of your different sort of layers that you're going to be working with. So at a baseline, this is where you'll see your video being presented. Then we also have that scene rail here. So this is where you can go in and work with those different scenes, kind of just like slides in a presentation. And then fourth is the timeline. And you'll notice that when I initially created my project, it automatically hides the timeline. So if you're scared of the timeline, you don't want to work in there, no worries. You don't have to. But if you want to show it, you can open it up and you can make it bigger, make it smaller. You can zoom in, zoom out. So if you want to get really precise on a specific edit, I'm just using my mouse to scroll in and out. And if I wanted to go in and find that B-roll that I added, it's as simple as just clicking on that clip and moving it. So if I want to time it a little bit later, just click and drag. It's as simple as that. And then if you want to extend it out, or actually in this case, this is a fairly short one, I could loop it. So over here in the top right-hand corner, got my properties panel here. You'll see the duration. It's showing once, but I could also loop it so it lasts a little bit longer. So up to you to kind of adjust those parameters there. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to get a little lay of the land in terms of your surfaces here. But let's actually start making some edits now in the transcript. Let's go. I'm going to cut out this sentence here. And when I start making edits, instead of doing a full delete, so here's if we fully delete this, that'll remove the underlying audio and video. So let's take a listen.
Personally is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. What about you guys?
Well, so I'm going to undo that. So instead of doing a full delete, you'll notice when you highlight a range of text, you get this script toolbar that appears. And there's so much power within the script toolbar. There's a bunch of different things we can do. The first thing I want to focus on is this ignore function. So just like in a Word document, you can use that strike through feature. So if I ignore, It's going to do the same thing by deleting it, but you'll be able to see your changes visually in the transcript. So it's a way for you to track those editorial decisions. So we'll go from here again.
Reese's peanut butter cups. What about you guys?
Well, Christiana, how do you feel about the ignore function? Do you use it when you're generally creating content?
Constantly, because I like being able to see all the edits that I made too. And it's so easy to bring stuff back if it doesn't sound quite right. So I'm very much on team ignore over delete for sure.
Yeah, same here.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, and thinking of all, some of the teams that we work with, it's their best practice, especially when going through and doing a paper edit, especially if you're, working through something that's like an hour or 2 hours long. So it definitely saves time, especially if you need to go back and unignore something.
Right.
Cool. So a couple other things I like to do when I'm creating my first rough edit. You'll notice in the top left-hand corner, I've got this actions bar here. So we talked a little bit about adding scenes by active speaker. There's 2 other really sort of magical features here that I love. And one is removing filler words. So if I select that, you're going to notice it's pointing out where all of the ums, the uhs, you knows, and all of those are. And so let's see here. If I want to only get rid of, if I click on this drop down here, I can say, let's just get rid of the repeated words and let's just do these guys. We'll leave the right in there. And okay. And instead, I don't want to delete. I want to ignore. I'm going to talk, there's a couple other options here too. One thing that I really like is remove from the transcript, but leave it in the audio and video. But in this case, I want to ignore the audio and the video. I'm going to remove all. Okay, so let's take a listen here.
Popping like a fun size is just I'll eat 20 of those and then throw up.
I chose okay, that was the perfect sentence. But as you can see, it'll just skip right over that audio and video. And when it creates that little cut, we do our best to optimize the edit boundaries on either side of that edit. So it's doing a little bit of smoothing so that it's not a super intense abrupt edit. And the cool thing is that you can always go in and add crossfades or add transitions. And if you're like, you know what, that one was like a little too abrupt, I'm going to unignore and I'm going to keep that one in. From here, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to back out of this. The other thing that I like using is the shorten word gaps. So in this case, I might want to find this interview is pretty tight. Okay. In this case, I'm finding where there's anything longer than a second. And maybe I want to shorten it down to like 0.8 just to kind of tighten things up. Generally, I wouldn't shorten anything down like, shorter than a second because that'll just feel kind of abrupt. So when I go through, I usually search for like anything longer than like 5 seconds and then shorten it down to like, a second or 2. But totally your preference. This is your work. This is your artistry. So you decide on what's best, but that's just one of my own best practices. Christiana, anything else you'd add around like the filler word gap remover?
Yeah, no, I use that a lot, especially the gap remover when I'm making something for social and I need it to be a certain length. It's a really easy and quick way to cut down on length. Like those little pauses and breaks really add up. So yeah, this can cut down your video and get it like 60 seconds for TikTok or whatever really quickly. So it's super handy. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. So I know we also have the record. The next thing we have in our agenda is the ability to record. So we've talked about importing, talked about transcribing. We've made a couple little edits, but what if we wanted to add a quick intro or outro, or, we needed to do like a quick, pickup. The nice thing is that you can record directly into an already existing project. So I'm just gonna add a paragraph break here because I generally like to do that. And then I'm gonna go up to the record tab. I'm gonna choose my camera. Okay. And sorry, you're all seeing two of me. So it's as simple, and the same thing if I did a screen recording, you can choose if you want your little camera bubble here down in the bottom left-hand corner, or you can turn that off if you want to disable it. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick little pickup, and you're just going to push record. And it'll give you a little countdown. All right, everyone, welcome. You're here hearing from some of my favorite people, Ashley, Ramdy, and Ryan, talking about their favorite Halloween candy. Take it away. All right, and I'll push stop. And so now it just recorded that quick take that I have in here. Awesome. And in this case, I want to relabel that. It doesn't need to be the short MV7. So I'm going to add in my speaker label here. Cool. And same thing. I'm going to just get rid of the stuff that I don't want. I'm going to highlight this here. I'm going to delete. And I'm using the quick key for the removal. I'm using Command Delete or Control Delete if you're on Windows. And I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so now talking about their favorite Halloween candy. Take it away.
I really want to talk about your favorite.
Cool. So it's as simple as that. So just hit that record button and start talking. I was just kind of winging it. And so if you wanted to write out a script that you want to record from, the cool thing is that we've got this write tool. So if you wanted to script something out before you record it, just click on write and then start using it like a Word document. So you could say this episode is brought to you by, whatever you'd like. So you use that to type it out, and then you can all basically use it as a teleprompter. And then once you've written something out, you can just highlight, delete, and then repopulate it with what you've recorded. But yeah, I love using the writing tool, especially if I need like an outline or a very specific script that I need to abide by. Christiana, when you use the write tool, what are you generally using it for?
Well, lately, I have been using an AI action to get me a first draft of a script,
I love that.
which has been super handy. And then I use write mode to edit it into my own voice. So yeah, folks, if you're not familiar, our AI actions are like built-in AI features that you can ask to help with any sort of step of the creative process, and we have one for like writing a script. So in this example, I would be like, write me a script for this video where my friends are talking about an intro script for this video where my friends are talking about Halloween candy. And if you're interested in that stuff, folks, we have an event on it in 2 weeks that I will send the invite in the chat.
I love that.
But yeah, great. I love write mode. It's the best.
Awesome. And we're going to dive into AI action soon, but yeah, that write mode can be super powerful, especially for drafting something up if you've got writer's block or just need a little help to get started.
There was a question on this. Can I hit you with it really quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Someone asked, could you have extended 1 to 2 seconds after the take it away? Like, would there be a way to like maybe totally. I think they're maybe asking about moving things around in the timeline, perhaps.
Yeah, great question. So if you wanted to, I'll mention a couple of things. So that if you wanted to add just a little bit of time between take it away and when Ashley says, I really want to talk, come down to the timeline, make this a little bigger, I'm gonna zoom in. And if you'll notice when you hover over the timeline, by default, you're seeing my mouse. Once you go up to where the edit point is, where that clip is, you click and drag right. And now we're just going to add a little bit of extra time, right? So the cool thing is that Descript is a non-destructive editor. So when you make changes, we'll keep your stuff around for you. You could also do something like adding a freeze frame. So I'm just right clicking on the timeline and can add a freeze frame. And by default, what do we do? I think we do 5 seconds, and then you can always shorten that up. But I think what you're getting at here is like, yeah, I think I want to just add a little extra buffer time right after. Christiana, do you feel, am I understanding that right?
Yep, you got it. Yep.
Cool.
I think that was perfect. Perfect showing of how you can sort of customize all of the stuff when you jump into the timeline.
Awesome. And actually, while we're here in the timeline, I need to not be on my face. There we go. Um, while we're here, just to help you kind of understand how to navigate around here. So I'm just using my mouse to zoom in and out. You'll see the play button here. And then this will allow you to jump forward and back to markers, which I'll talk about in a sec. You'll see here the time code that you're at. So I can see I'm a little over 11 seconds in. Over here on the right, these are some of our timeline tools. So the select tool, that just allows you to jump to a specific point in time in the timeline in the transcript. Your blade button, and there's keyboard shortcuts for all of these. So A is select, B is for blade. So if I want to go in here and create an edit point, right, and maybe like that take there was a little abrupt, so I'm going to add an edit point, and then I can go in and do things like adding in crossfade, or maybe I just want to get rid of that clip altogether. So a couple different reasons why you might want to use the blade tool. Then you've also got the range tool. So if I wanted to select just a range of media, and then I can, again, delete it. Or if I want to, if I need to add a label for that range, I can do that, or replace with a gap clip. I've also got, this is one of our newer timeline tools, the slip tool. So I find this one particularly useful if I'm editing a long form interview and I need to slip, literally slip. So you'll see if I'm moving through the tape here and just going to maybe a later point and want to jump to a later time in that clip. And then last, your hand tool is just a way to move up and down the timeline. So just, you'll notice that it switches from your normal mouse to that handy hand, and then click and drag and back and forth through the timeline. So there's your timeline tools. And again, you don't have to work in the timeline if you don't want to. The beauty of Descript is that you can do almost everything from the transcript. Cool. So we've imported, we've transcribed, we've made some edits here and there. We've done a little bit of recording. I want to talk about another really powerful aspect of Descript, and that is the ability to go in and create shorter clips and repurpose. And along with that, kind of like the whole collaboration piece of things. So if I want to give her access to this project and be like, hey, I'm going to point out a couple of things that I think are going to be really great for social. I'm going to tag you in on a few sections. Maybe I'm going to let's talk about just these two paragraphs. And again, when I highlight the range of text, I can see the comment option. So if I use comment, if I use the @mention symbol, this will @mention it'll give you a list of anyone on the account that you're sharing this with. So I'm going to tag Christiana. Be like, should we use for social? Cool. All right. And then the cool thing is that Christiana will get a notification that she's been mentioned in this project. She can pop in, add a comment just like you would in Google Docs. Since she has edit access to this project, which I'm going to give her now, she'll be able to come in, make some edits if she wants to. And so I'm going to take this clip and you can do one of two things. There's two ways to kind of like easily repurpose content. One is just using this, what we call duplicate to option. I'm going to say new composition. Let's talk about what a composition is. So a composition is basically like a new document. So I have my master, just going to go ahead and I don't need this one anymore. I've got my master interview over here, that top one. And then here's my clip of just that segment that I pulled. So you can basically you can create multiple compositions within a project. And so I like to use compositions for like shorter clips that I'm going to assemble. And Christiana, I know this is like a big part of your workflow in terms of how you use Descript. I was going to talk about highlights, but any other sort of things related to the duplicate to function?
No, yeah, you got it. I mostly use the duplicate to.
Okay.
But like, for example, we will get a recording of this event, and I will probably go through it and highlight all the sections that I think might work for Twitter or LinkedIn. and then I will copy all of those highlights to a new composition. So if you want to show that off, that's pretty handy.
I love the highlighting tool. The duplicate to function, which I just showed, I like to do that like when I just need to do a quick one-off clip. But the highlights is really nice because you can use it like for pulling multiple selections at once. Or I've seen teams use them like in a really thoughtful sort of like color coding way, so that like if I'm gonna grab this one, so like maybe violet highlights are for to indicate to their engineer that like, hey, this section needs some audio sweetening here, or the green color is for social clips, and then red is for producers to come in and fact check. So it's I love hearing how different teams kind of like use the highlights for different color coding here. But let me go ahead and I've created a couple highlights now. And so I'm going to go up to my actions, handy actions, and I'm going to type in highlights. And by default, it's going to populate that copy highlights. So I'm going to grab those. And you could choose which ones you want to grab, but in this case, I want to grab all highlights. And now I'm going to come back to my composition list, and I'm going to create new composition. So again, kind of a blank document. These are going to be social clips. And I'm just going to right click and paste those in. Or you could also do Command V, and now it's brought those over. So easy peasy. So you got, I'll go back. So here's our master sort of interview that we were working from. And then I've got my clip here, Vashly, and then I've got my third clip of my social clips. And the thing you'll notice that I really like about the composition list is that you can pop this out and move it around. You can also dock it so that it'll just permanently stick over here. Or if you want more surface of just the transcript and the canvas, you can get rid of it and then work from here. All right. Now I want to talk about, now that I've kind of got a clip, I'm going to retitle this Ashley, just talking about swimming. And so I'm going to create a couple scenes here. Okay, do one more. So she's talking about swimming here. I'm going to go up into our stock media library. One thing I want to mention while I go to the media tab, it's broken into two different sections. So on the left, this is where all of our raw, unedited files are stored. So if you ever need to come back and reference those, this is where you'll be able to access them. You can do a lot of different things from here. So if you have any issues with transcription, you can come here and retranscribe. But yeah, a lot of power from the files section here. And then over on the right, this is where all of our stock media is. And there's GIFs or GIFs. There's images, and audio, music, and sound effects. So I'm going to find something with swimming. So many good options here. Okay, let's do, ooh, I like the one with the sunglasses. Okay, I'm going to bring that into scene 2. Cool. And let's go. Let's see a little bit of this.
Because a lot of people learn to swim when they're very young. I know my parents took me to the YMCA and had me do those baby swimming classes. I don't remember that.
Cool. Now, if this is for social, I might want to reformat this depending on the platform. So I'm going to come over into my canvas, and I'm going to switch this for, let's do portrait. You could also format it for square, for Insta, or you can even create custom dimensions too. I'm going to go ahead and make Ashley a little bit bigger here. Cool. And I like the size of that. So if I want that to be the same settings on scene 1. So I'm going to click on that third scene, copy that, paste it. That way it's the same size. And then I'll make this a little bit bigger. Cool. And then maybe I want my background color to be a little bit different. I can go to my properties panel here. Can have it a nice blue color. Cool. All right, looking good. Let's add some captions. I want to add some captions here. So in the top, we talked about the media tab, talked about recording. In the text, let's add some captions here. Awesome. And I'm going to bring these down here. Now you can really go to town with customizing the look and feel of your captions. So you can change the font. Let's go to Sora. You can also, if we go to, you can upload custom fonts as well. You can format it. Let's do some karaoke. Cool. You can go in and change the active future word colors. So that looks good. I'm going to pop up in the timeline because I want this. I want to make sure you can see my layers here. Great. I actually want the captions to persist throughout the entire video, not just the first scene. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Another thing I'm going to add, let's add a progress bar because of attention spans, right? All right, that looks good. I'm going to pop that out as well. Super simple.
I know my parents took me to the YMCA.
How are we doing, Christiana? Any questions coming up while we're kind of repurposing and creating the social clip here?
On let's see, somebody asked specifically about so what would be the best way to add captions to an entire transcript?
Great question. Yeah. So what I would do is I would actually add captions before you create scenes. So as soon as you bring your clip in, before adding scenes, add captions and then create your scenes. That way, when you add those, like if you create scenes and add captions, you don't have to like go in and stretch it out across the timeline. Good question.
Cool. And another one here. Can all of the photos and videos be used without worrying about copyright issues?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So the stock media library that we're using is called Storyblocks, and you can use them for commercial purposes. I think the only one that's a little funky here, I think it's Unsplash has slightly different I would say restrictions, but everything else is cleared through Storyblocks for commercial purposes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Harmony, I guess my question would be, so like say you got this down for this, maybe it's for TikTok or Instagram Reels, and then say if I then wanted a square version, what would be like your workflow for creating the different versions of this short for each platform?
Awesome. So this is where the power of copying compositions really comes in handy. So what I would do is I'm going to pop that open and I'm just going to go to this particular composition here, click on the three dots, and we're going to duplicate it. So we want the same content. We just want to reformat it. So we're going to duplicate that. Cool. So now we see that duplicate here, and I'm going to rename this. This is going to be for, I can spell. There we go. And so now we'll go in, reformat it. And so what you might want to do is, depending on the scale of things, I might want to move Ashley around. I might even want to resize some of this because we're switching to different settings here. And that looks pretty good. Okay. And so I like the look of that. I'll copy that layout. Oops. Undo. Move Ashley over one more time. Look at it. All you have to do is get it right once and then copy that layout. Move it over here. I'm going to paste it. There we go. So now the size will copy over. And then from here you'll just export these out and you'll be good to go.
Cool.
And the one thing I would offer up is, if you have sort of standards for the different platforms that you're publishing to, create templates. And I can show you how easy it is to create a template. You can create them on the fly too. So for example, this here with this particular clip, I've added some captions. I've added a progress bar. I could also, let's see, I'll add in one more element, like a waveform here. Let's bring that down to the bottom. and I can change the style of this. So by default, I have it on lines, but I could also, let's circle, ring. I'll leave it on lines for now. Bring up the fidelity a little bit.
About swimming again. I will do.
Whoops. Where did my waveframe go? There it is. Oh, okay. Bring it up. Cool.
I will do a nice little intro so that I am talking.
Okay. So that maybe I like the look of that, and I want to repurpose this for something with Ramdy that I'm going to pull. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on that scene. I'm going to save that as a template. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new template. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up a new Descript window. And it's going to prompt you to create a template. So I'm going to say this is, we'll do swimming template, portrait. Okay. And this is vertical. I'm going to publish that. Just call this V1. If you're working on a team with team members, you can switch this from private to share with Drive. That way, once you create the template, everyone on the account can benefit from it. I'm going to publish that. Cool. So I'm just going to grab, I want that to save. Publish changes. Okay, now I think I'm good to close this out. All right, so I'm going to go back to my original interview. I'm going to find something with Ramdy here. Okay, let's grab this select. I'm going to create a new composition for Ramdy's clip. And awesome. Don't need that scene. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to portrait mode. Cool. Now I'm going to go into my templates. So this is great. We've talked about our media library, recording, our text. We've got into shapes where we've added a progress bar and a waveform. Now, if we go into templates, let me scroll down and see if I can find this. Where is this? There it is. So I'm just going to select, and it's a one-click apply. Look at that. So now it resized Ramdy. It brought in my progress bar, the waveform, the captions.
Eager to get into it. So
and a one-click apply template. So this is a lifesaver, especially if you're going fast and having to repurpose content for different platforms. That was my long-winded way of covering templates. But Christiana, what else should I mention here?
No, that was awesome. Maybe just highlighting that templates, like how would you share a template with your team, or like where do templates live?
Great question. So they're stored back at that Drive level. So if I back out to projects, if I go to my templates tab, this is where I can see all of my templates. So if I want to go in and make sure, let's see here, that one that I just created, I can pop in there, review the template that I just created, or I can also share it. I can copy that link and I could, send it to another team member. Again, what you'll want to do if you have multiple people on your account is just making sure it's shared with a Drive as opposed to being private. But it's as easy as that. It's back at that Drive level.
Awesome. Cool.
Good question. Awesome. Let me pop back in here so we can keep editing here. All right, let's see. Another thing that I like, I'm actually going to switch. Is it cool if I switch to a different interview, Christiana?
Let's do it. Let's switch it up.
All right. We've heard from Ashley, Ramdy, and Ryan. Let's go to this Marilyn and Petra interview. So what I just showed was a custom template that I created. But the good news is that if you need a little inspiration, we've got pre-made templates that you can benefit from. So here I have a two-way conversation. Marilyn and Petra also recorded in Squadcast. Under the hood, yeah, I've got two files. I'm going to do that thing where I added scenes by active speaker. Cool. Or if I don't want to do that, if I undo and I want to keep this nice side-by-side view, I'm going to go into my template library. And let's go to the gallery. So this is where all of your pre-baked templates are, as opposed to the Drive. This is where all of my sort of custom ones are. So if I go into the gallery, you'll notice that there's different titles and intros. And in this case, I want to go into my multicam templates. And let's see here. There's a couple nice options here. I like this one. Cool. And it's as simple as that. And I would recommend if, in this case, I haven't added any scenes. And if I want this template to persist throughout my entire interview, kind of the same thing with adding captions, add the template first, then
Right.
create your scenes later.
Good call out.
Yep. So for example, if I want like starting here, where she's saying that's where she's based out of, I can add a scene, and maybe here, maybe I want like this element here. Maybe I want the color to change. Oh,
actually performs. That's where she's based.
or I'm going to undo. I'm going to add my captions. Great. And let's change. It'll pop a little bit more. All right. So again, go to the template drawer and you can kind of play around with the different elements here. And the cool thing is that you can take something that's pre-baked and then customize it to the look and feel of your brand. So that's kind of a nice like jumping off point if you're not quite sure where to start with your templates. Cool. I've been talking a lot
About all important things. So
But I know I definitely want to get to talking about publishing and exporting. But Christiana, any questions popping up in the chat?
We're having a few requests that I've seen a pattern for, and I think we're gonna hit some of these. But one has been some asking for examples of like studio sound. Maybe we could show that, and then also diving into some of the like video effects. So green screen was mentioned, eye contact as well. I know some of those things can take a while to load, but even just showing where those things are could be cool.
You got it. Well, so I'll start applying eye contact right now, but let's start with studio sound, which is one of my favorites. So for folks that are kind of new to audio effects, the sort of quick and dirty effect to use is studio sound. And basically what this is a background noise remover and speech enhancement. So it'll, if you're in a really noisy environment, it will get rid of all that background noise. So let's hear, I'm going to go ahead and flip. Let's see, studio sound is on right now. So I'm going to turn it off. And you'll notice in order to get your audio effects to show up, you're going to see the properties panel change once you highlight a range of text, right? So now I see my audio effects here. Let's hear this without studio sound.
My name is Marilyn Moser. I am the influencer marketing manager here at Descript, and I am so honored and wonderfully excited to be chatting.
Okay, so it's not horrible audio, but Marilyn's in her living room. The sound is a little bit boomy. You can hear it bouncing off the walls. So in this case, I would definitely want to flip on studio sound. So I'm going to turn it on. And once you turn it on, you'll notice that you can adjust the intensity. So if you want to retain a little bit of the background noise, I'll leave this at, let's put it at like 90. So now let's hear it.
Recording. My name is Marilyn Moser.
Oops, let's go ahead and it sounded a little overly processed. So I'm going to bring this down to about 85. Cool.
My name is Marilyn Moser. I am the influencer marketing manager here at Descript, and I am so honored and wonderful.
So hopefully you guys can hear the difference. You can hear that the sound's a little bit more focused. It sounds like she's talking more directly into the mic, and you're not getting as much of that sort of her voice bouncing off the walls. Christiana, could you hear the difference?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Studio sound really does wonders. And my tip would just be play around with that intensity level. Because honestly, the worse the audio is, normally the higher you want it to go. Me and Harmony have these nice Shure mics that like honestly, sometimes I don't need studio sound. But if I turn it on, maybe you can slightly hear my heater in the background, then I'll like adjust that intensity. But just play around with it and pick what you like.
Yeah. And a couple of tips here. So if you're recorded just like a single mono file where you have both speakers on the same track, when you flip on studio sound, it's going to be affecting both speakers. This is kind of yet another reason when recording to try to record people on separate channels, so that if in this case Petra's audio is really good, but Marilyn's isn't, I can go in specifically just to Marilyn's file, and I can do that if I right click on the transcript. That takes me into this sequence editor. And I know this is a 101 session. We're kind of like getting into some more advanced stuff.
Yep.
But what we can do is if I just want to isolate Marilyn and turn on studio sound, I can do that and without affecting Petra's. So just pro tip there, when you deciding when to use studio sound, you'll be able to isolate it if you're recording people on separate channels.
Folks, if you're intimidated by that sequence, know that I've been using Descript for over 2 years, and I rarely go in there. Don't worry. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Yeah. Most likely, like, especially for if you're just getting started, most likely you don't need to jump into the sequence editor. I'm kind of an audio nerd and like to kind of go in there and maneuver in the sequence editor. And especially for people that are more sort of comfy in standard digital audio workstations or NLEs, you might feel a little bit more home in that environment.
It's a great call out. Yeah, folks, if you're visiting us or coming over from a different editor or planning to use us with like a DAW, let us know in the chat. I'm curious what other tools are sort of in your stack.
Absolutely. Okay, so I heard studio sound. Christiana, you mentioned some video effects as well.
Yeah. Can you do the AI eye contact has been brought up a couple of times.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here. I'm gonna just kind of see the real power. I'm gonna zoom in on let's do the scene. So we're not hearing Marilyn here. I'm going to make Marilyn Petra a little bit bigger so we can kind of see the difference here. Cool.
Awesome.
And okay, so here it is off. I'm going to turn it.
The inspiration really came because of the pandemic, as of like March.
Okay, so this is kind of a good pause. So I'm going to turn it on. So I'm going to turn it off, on. So see how it's literally adjusting her eyeballs in the sockets. It's kind of wild. I use this a lot because oftentimes I'll be recording and referring to like an outline or script. So you just simply toggle it on and it focuses your eyeballs so that it looks like you're looking at the camera.
It's pretty crazy. I wanted this to be called eyeball rotator.
We can put in the feature requests, or dreams do come true sometimes here.
Exactly. Super cool. And then someone asked a good question about this feature. Let me see if I can grab it here. Where did it go? Okay, cool. Can you do AI eye contact only on one person, or does it automatically apply to both files if you have multiple files?
So if you're working with multiple files, you can apply it just to an individual file.
Cool.
Versus like if you've recorded both people on the same track, like on a mono file, it's not going to work so well.
Got it. Okay. Good to know, and great question. All right.
Do we want to see green screen? Would that be useful?
We've gotten some asks for green screen. So let's do that. And then maybe let's close out with publishing and exporting. And then we can just hit a bunch of these awesome questions that we're getting.
Awesome. Okay. So let's jump to, I think we can do this actually from, I want to apply it to both of them here. So I'm going to go over to effects. That's also going to be in our properties panel here. And whoops, just kidding. Need to have that selected. And we're going to go into effects. And we're going to see green screen at the very bottom. So you'll notice there's a lot of different effects in here. You can do color adjustments. You can do color adjustments, blurring, but we're going to do green screen. And I also want to apply it to Marilyn as well. Look at that, amazing. And then maybe once you toggle that on, so it's just a toggle on and off. And then in this case, I might want to make them a little bit bigger. And I'm going to scoot Marilyn down here. Cool. Beautiful.
Awesome.
And you'll notice that once you select like either of these panes here, you're going to get the option to adjust the position in the canvas. You can change the shape. So maybe I want to make these both. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Let's make them both circles. Amazing. I can also go in and crop. So you can get kind of really precise here in the canvas. I can adjust the size by zooming. I can rotate. Poor Petra. Okay. I can flip it horizontally. The other thing that I really love, this is kind of a more recent update in the canvas, is if you're working with multiple layers, you can go up into the top right-hand corner and expand the canvas. And this makes it just super easy to go in and get really precise. And if you're working with multiple text layers, it makes it really nice. Kind of like almost a little bit like Canva in a way. And then if I want to get out of this view and get back to my transcript, shrink canvas, and then it'll pop me back to this view.
Love it.
So a little bit about green screen. And again, you can apply this if you have multiple files on a per file basis. And it's super easy to, take, let's say just a section here and duplicate that. Cool. And maybe I want to just see Marilyn. Again, can repurpose it, make it bigger.
Some folks are asking if they could see a example of you adding a background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to make her a little bit bigger. What do we want to add a background of? Let's do
outer space.
Outer space. I love it.
That's my favorite thing to sort of like green screen my friends onto. So
outer. Okay, just how about space? Ooh, okay, cool. Let's do. This is too fun. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Ooh, this is neat. Okay, awesome. Okay, so as you add in new layers, you're gonna want to play with the layer order. So I've added this in. I'm gonna move that, send it back. Okay. So when you right click on an element, you can go in and change that layer order. So you can bring things to the front, send it to the back, and you could even, let's get rid of, oops. Cool, I'm gonna get rid of that and this guy. So it's as easy as that. Add in your background and then just update the layer order.
So cool. Thanks, Harm.
Yeah, you got it. This is fun.
Marilyn, if you're out there, congrats on going outer space. It's a huge accomplishment.
Milestone for a Descript employee.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Should we export?
Yes, let's hit on that. And then we've got some great questions that I will ask you.
Great. Well, now that I have this magnificent clip that I'm ready to get out of Descript, once I'm ready to share, I can go up to the top right-hand corner. You're going to just click on Publish. Have a bunch of different options here. So with publishing, you can publish out to multiple destinations. So you can publish out to YouTube and some of these other hosting sites. You'll notice that the ones that are in sort of grayed out, these are audio only platforms. And then if you're working with something that's audio only, the video platforms would be grayed out. I love using WebLink because what this will do is that it will create a web page with this media, and then I could send this to, let's say, Christiana to review real quick. So I can send her this link. She'll be able to watch this back in browser. She'll be able to go in and add comments. She could say, like cut this section or like add music here. And then that way I can get that feedback, take it, and kind of adjust it before we publish out to our social channels. Then as far as exporting goes, in the export tab, there's a lot of different ways to export your content. So first is your video. Down here in the settings, this is really cool. Like if you've created multiple clips for different social platforms, you could say all compositions. So do a bulk export. In this case, I just want to get this one video out. So I'll say current composition, update your resolution. You can go and adjust your audio settings. You can even add metadata if you want, and then export. And then all of these will download these files locally to your machine, and then you can upload it to your whatever destination you're sending this to. You could also export out an audio only version of this. There's a couple different formats. You can do M4A, WAV, MP3, but WAV is that default. You can also export GIFs and change the dimensions here and quality. You can export timelines. So this is a really sort of key unlock, especially for if you need to go out into another tool and do like color grading, or if you have an engineer that's doing scoring for you. You can go out to things like Pro Tools, Audition, Premiere, Final Cut, and that will bring your edit that you've created over into that new application, and then you'll be able to continue editing as needed. You can also export transcripts. I love exporting transcripts, especially if you've got a podcast you're creating. You can export the transcript and make it available in your show notes for accessibility purposes. The default is a docx, but you can change that as well. You can also export subtitles. So if you're, an example here is if you're creating a training video and you need to upload it into your internal learning management system, get out that SRT or VTT and add that in. Whew. Okay. Exporting and publishing. What did I miss, Christiana?
You nailed it. You crushed it. Marcelo gave me a really handy rule of thumb. I was trying to answer a question about like sending your Descript projects out to a DAW like Premiere Pro, and basically like if it's a unique Descript feature, it's probably not there. So like scenes won't go over there, but like all of your timeline edits will. And we have a really handy dandy help article that lists all of those things out. So if you're someone that plans to export out to a DAW, definitely check that out because it's super handy, and Marcelo or I can throw that into the chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a good opportunity. If you need to access any of our help docs, in the top right-hand corner, there's this little question mark here. If you click on Help Center, that'll bring up our amazing help docs. And in this case, here's that article Christiana was referencing. So it'll kind of give you it'll tell you what exactly will come over in your timeline export. But yeah, check out our help center, especially if you're brand new. It's broken out into sort of different sections. So this is a really useful resource.
Yes, big +1. I'm in there every day.
Yeah, me too.
Like all the time. And when I'm still confused, I ask Marcelo, which is the perfect reminder that Marcelo has office hours right after this in Discord. Join our Discord to chat with Marcelo and ask any of the questions that you have lingering after this.
Yeah.
After this 10-ish minute fire round of questions that I throw at Harmony. Cool. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Well, and I'm going to share the QR code for the Discord. It's up in one of the corners. I don't know which one because there must be some screen mirroring happening here. But if you scan that, you'll be prompted to join, or it's just discord.gg/Descript. Type that into your browser and you will join.
Nice.
Okie dokie. So jump over there and join Marcelo after this. But Harmony, are you ready for some questions?
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So the first one, can you be sure to hit any features that are podcast specific? And I'd love to take this like a more macro level and talk about, like, we were in a video project today, but lots of what we covered you can also do in audio projects, but maybe we can touch on some specifics there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, thinking like if you are recording like a video podcast, I would say, before you start editing, like if you're creating both a video and audio version, or creating like an audio only product, but you want to be able to have video social clips, bring in your video and edit it down from there. And what I would recommend is, if this is, let's say, your interview that you're editing, you can take this and then set it to a composition only or audio only composition. That way you'll be able to, all of your edits will come over, and then you could essentially create a duplicate of your edit and make an audio only version. I think this is really key, especially for folks that are just producing audio only work. I'm trying to think the other thing, especially if you're not going out to another DAW and like even doing some of your scoring in here, it's really easy to, let's say, add in, your music here. So as you work with like different music buds, I'll just bring in this. So you'll notice, while I'm not, seeing my video, I've got my music here, and I can do things by like grabbing on to the word bar here, and I'm adding a little gap. And what I can do is I might want to just have some music for the first few seconds and then have it fade out. And you can do things like, let's say I want to have that music fade out over time. I feel like I could go on forever. Christiana, what are some other sort of key things for pod? I would say like studio sound is a big one.
Yep.
If you're creating a video podcast, using templates for your social clips, using the recording tool for like pickups.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, obviously you can record. Squadcast completely supports video. You can record up to 4K video, but Squadcast was first and foremost a podcasting tool. And so, yeah, remote recording is now completely free in Descript. I also want to really quickly mention 2 awesome AI features that we probably won't be able to get into. But the first one is regenerate, which, how to describe regenerate? Basically it's this magic AI feature that can really easily, it's like a band-aid almost, or like I like to think of it as the Mr. Clean's magic eraser of audio editing. If you like have a really awkward cut, or like your cat meows in the background, regenerate can fix either of those situations for you. Looks like Harmony is showing us how it's done here.
It's I love your analogy of it, like regenerate as Mr. Clean. Even if you're a super pro audio editor, there are some things that like just often cannot be fixed. So it will regenerate that audio so that it sounds a little bit smoother. And you'll notice, like, as it regenerates, we saw earlier that we actually didn't even have a waveform, so it regenerated that sound for you and cleaned up that audio. And the way that you get to that, you'll notice that when you cut out a portion of audio, you'll see right where that edit point is, that little band-aid will appear. And so it'll say regenerate. You can also get to it by going to replace and regenerate from here. Awesome. And then what was the second one, Christiana, you mentioned too?
So AI speakers, formerly known as overdub. This is like a whole big can of worms, folks, but basically you can make an AI version of your voice that lives in the Descript app. And it can do your various biddings, such as if you made a misspeak and you want to change the word, or you want the AI version of you to read sort of your intro, like Harmony's about to show us. It's super handy, and that's only available in audio at the moment. So yeah, I think it'd be super cool if we can show that off real quick.
Yeah. And again, this kind of goes back to the power of the write tool. So if you wanted to, you could like write out an entire episode or, just an intro. But I also use the AI voices to correct words all the time because I'm saying the wrong things all the time. So even if you just need to go in and fix like just a single word, you can replace it. But let's see how my voice is sounding today. Welcome to my first podcast. I'm going to wow you over the next hour. All right, there you go.
You're good. Super cool. We'll do a whole session on AI speakers pretty soon, folks, but it's just a little taste. Okay, awesome. Can I keep going with some questions?
Of course, yeah.
Cool. Okay. So we talked about commenting on the web link. Can comments added to the web link appear directly in Descript? Like, does that go into the project itself?
I see. So if I send you a web link and if you leave a comment, do the comments carry back into the project? Unfortunately,
Exactly.
yeah. Unfortunately, not at the moment. But
it's cool.
It's come up before, so most likely that's somewhere on our feedback page. So if you go to feedback.descript.com, either upvote it or add it there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great question.
Next, someone asked, what is the purpose of recording on Squadcast and then putting it into Descript? And I think this is a great question because we showed how to record right into Descript.
Mm-hmm.
So Harmony, maybe you could touch on like when to use which and what really the purpose is.
Totally. Yeah. So I would use Squadcast in the scenario of when you have to do remote recording with more than one person. So for example, I'm in San Diego, Christiana's in Portland, and we need to record an episode. So I would open up Squadcast, start a session, and then that way I'm being recorded on my own channel. Christiana's being recorded on her own channel. And once we're finished, I can take those files, bring them into Descript, it'll pair them, and then you'll get that transcript back. So I would say record in Descript if you just need to do like a quick one-off recording with one single person, versus if you need to do remote recording with multiple people, that's when you would want to use Squadcast.
Awesome. Super cool. All right. Quick one. So we talked a lot about B-roll. And then this person asked, can you put music on top of it as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's do one real quick. We'll go for, how about just here? We're going to add in, I want some New York B-roll here. We'll add it there. And then we're going to grab some music as well. I should listen to let's see. Okay, that will work. That's the nice thing. You can go through and audition the music here. So you'll notice as you add additional layers, you'll see them layer here in the timeline. And in this case, I might want that B-roll to loop. And oops, here we go. Stretch it out across. So yeah, there we, if I want it to only last just for that scene, I can shorten it up, but then you'll see both of those layers represented in that scene here. And we've got a really cool improvement coming in the timeline. So let's say if you have a project where you have like 20 different layers, you're going to soon be able to scroll vertically and see all of your different layers, which will make maneuvering in the timeline a little bit easier.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, buzzer beater here. Couple questions on this. Can you record your screen and camera at the same time?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. So the way that you do that, here, I'll open up a new composition here, hit record, and we're going to record both. Yeah. So if we choose screen, if you'll just want to make sure that you have your camera enabled. So if it's disabled, you won't have yourself on screen, but make sure you enable it and then check your other settings. If you need to be recording computer audio, you can, otherwise disable that. And then just start recording. And then the cool thing is once you've recorded, this is a multi-track screen recorder. So if at a certain point through your recording, you need to move your head up to the top right-hand corner or just move yourself around on screen, you'll be able to do that.
So handy.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, awesome. And then I guess this is a biased question, but Harmony, where should people go from this? They just did a Descript 101 with you. They're feeling empowered. What would you say the next best step is to keep going with Descript?
So a couple of things. Open up Descript, use that promo code to try out Pro. Create your first project. And so if you've got something that you want to record or something that you've been wanting to edit for the longest time, but you just haven't had the time or the inspiration, open up a project and start doing it. And then couple additional resources that can be useful. I referenced our help center. There's a great sort of like editing video 101 that you can access. Our YouTube channel is also really great. We have a fantastic video producer, Ramdi, who's created a ton of bite-sized tutorials. So if you're like, what was Harmony saying about filler words or eye contact? There's all of these great sort of short tutorials that are broken down per feature. So as you can see, Descript, there's a lot of features in here. It goes very wide and deep very quickly. So if you're just wanting to kind of focus on a subset of features, you can go and explore those through the Help Center and YouTube channel.
Awesome. Great. Well, Harmony, thank you so much for leading us the last 90 minutes of learning. It's been such a blast with all of you. I've got that promo code up here, live30 at checkout, but I will send it in the follow-up email. And just a reminder that Marcelo is doing office hours right after this in Discord. So jump in there. It's discord.gg/Descript. And we will see you at the next event.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining. Great questions.